I've just added Loras to the Runware integration inside of ZimmWriter. And what does a Lora do? A Lora allows you to create something like this. Let me zoom in here. By the way, I have people working on my house, and if you hear hammering and nailing and all that stuff, let's just work through that because I want to release this update to you and share these cool new features. So let's just work through the noise if you do hear that. So check this image out. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. There we go. Look at that image. This is not a typical AI image. This is an AI image that was created for a penny. This cost me a penny to make, but it looks realistic. It has that non-clean look. A lot of AI images almost look too clean. This does not look clean. This looks like something somebody took on like maybe an iPhone 7, not the highest quality in the world. There's a pan here. It looks like it's dirty. There's some dirt around the table. It looks like a real photo that somebody took after they got done making this. This is something that you should be focusing on if you're doing recipes, or if you're doing anything that needs images that don't look like AI. Pinterest, for example, is cracking down on AI images. People are reporting AI images. So using Loras on your AI image models inside of Runware, and this only works inside of Runware because Runware has built the functionality to make this very easy. And Runware is also one of the cheapest ways to generate AI images. It's not a replacement for ideogram, for instance, if you want a lot of text on the image. But for images like this without text, it's phenomenal. And it's so inexpensive too. So this is like a really realistic looking image. Let's look at some of the other ones on here. This is pretty cool looking. Like that looks real. Like it's a dirty pan. There's some rust stains. You have some crud on the outside of the pan. That's pretty cool. Look at that. This looks great. Looks real. So how do we make these things? First of all, you need that Runware integration. So you'll have to go to ZimmWriter, go to the Setup Image API, scroll all the way down, and then there'll be a link to take you here and to create an account. And it's very inexpensive. I have $256 because when I signed up, if I put $200 on, they'd give me like an additional $60. I don't know if they're still doing that, but it's only gone down $4 and I've made a couple websites already. I'm paying less than a penny for most of my images. So there's quite a number of models on Runware. Let me show you. So anything with an RW is Runware. So we have Flux Dev, Flux Schnell, Stable Diffusion 3, Juggernaut Pro, Juggernaut Lightning, and Juggernaut Base. I don't know if you can see these in here. Now, Runware only runs open source models. So we'll never have ideogram on here. We're not going to have Flux Pro or Flux Ultra on here. We're not going to have Stable Diffusion 3.5 on here. We're only going to have open source models. But even though they're only open source models, they're still very high quality, higher quality and comparable almost to Flux Pro or Flux Ultra. And the cool thing is Juggernaut Pro, for instance, is a penny. And that's comparable to Flux Pro at 4 pennies. So this is a lot cheaper. So how do we use Loras? How does that all work? What is a Lora to begin with? If you're in Runware, you log in, you make an account, you add some money to your account, you create an API key, you put that into ZimmWriter. But then go back to Runware, go to this screen like my.runware.ai/home, and you can click on models right here. Some of these models are integrated into ZimmWriter. We'll click on base. So we have Juggernaut Pro. Let's see here. Juggernaut Pro would be J Pro down here. There's Juggernaut Lightning, Juggernaut Base, Juggernaut Pro, Juggernaut Lightning, Juggernaut Base. I also have Flux Dev and Flux Schnell. You can see these, let's see, Flux Dev, Flux Schnell, and then Stable Diffusion 3. Now, if you look up here, Juggernaut Pro is classified as a Flux period 1D. This is classified as Flux period 1D. Let's see, Stable Diffusion. I think Stable Diffusion is just SD3. So these are the models. Now there's something called Loras. So let's go over here and click Loras. And Loras are like training data that you can apply on top of the model. The training data was created for that specific model, that classification of model. For instance, this one right here is for photos. It's photorealism and stuff like that. So this particular Lora works with Flux 1D. So this would work with all your Juggernaut models. This would work with Flux Dev. It wouldn't work with Flux Schnell. You need a Flux.1S for that. This right here works with Stable Diffusion 1.5. That's not integrated inside of ZimmWriter. So you can choose what architecture you want. You want to see all the stuff for Flux Dev or all the Lightning models? You would click this one. And these are all the Loras that are compatible with that. You want to see the Loras compatible with Flux Schnell, you click this right here and you can see all the models compatible with that. The Stable Diffusion is the same way, so SD3. So what you do is you figure out what model you want to write with. Let's say I want to write with J Lightning because that's a really powerful model and it's only a penny. So I want to write with J, actually that's less than a penny. It's like 1/10 of a penny. So J Lightning. Let's actually get out of here. Go to the bulk image generator to show you. This will probably be a little bit easier. And let me put a default prompt in here. So we'll select our model. It's just easier to do this in the bulk image generator, but this works everywhere. It works inside of the bulk writer. It works inside of the alt images. It works everywhere. Everywhere that you can select an AI image model. So we'll select J. Actually, let's select J Pro. Let's just do that. So J Pro, and when we click options over here, you'll see if you scroll down this new LoRa thing. And so this is where you put the LoRa model, right? So I hope I haven't lost you. Maybe you got to watch this video a couple times. But the LoRas are applied on top of the model. Now, I've already showed you our Juggernaut Pro, which we're using, Juggernaut Pro is a Flux 1D. Okay, so when we choose our LoRa, we have to choose an architecture compatible with Flux 1D. And again, this is optional. You don't have to do this, but LoRas allow you to do things that you can't do without a LoRa. So as an example, this is a LoRa for amateur photography, right? Look at that, does not look like an AI image. So this LoRa, again, it works with their Flux 1D, which Juggernaut Pro is. And this is photorealistic, photorealism. Now, some of these have a trigger word. And unless your prompt uses the trigger word, the LoRa won't work. Now, when I click these 3 dots over here, I don't see a trigger word. Let's click this over here. So view trigger words, Mythport. So unless your prompt that ZimmWriter creates uses this trigger word, the LoRa won't really apply very well, at least. Now, this one doesn't have any trigger words. So let's use this. Let's use this on our Juggernaut Pro. So this is what you do. You click the dots over here and copy Air ID. So we copied it. And we go over here, we click on options, and we scroll down, and we just paste that LoRa that we copied right there. This makes no sense, but that's the LoRa code. Okay, so we've copied that, we've put that in here, and then you can select your aspect ratio if you want to. I'm going to make this, I'll make this square, save choices. And this prompt probably doesn't work that well with this particular LoRa because we're saying this is the photograph that someone took using a high-end camera. So let's take that out actually. Write a prompt to describe a photograph about title. We're not going to use the subheading. Use detailed visual language that's specific, no words. So our title would be a man in a messy room holding a sign that says, "Hello there." So there's our title that it's going to put right in here. Let's put some quotes around this. And we're going to do one image, just one image for testing, and I'll select a more powerful model to create our prompt. So we use Sonnet 3.5, and we'll create the image. Okay, let's see what we get. So we're using Juggernaut Pro, and we're using this LoRa on top of that, this amateur photography LoRa on top of that. And what's cool is if you're using the bulk writer, for instance, and you use profiles, when you put your LoRa in, if you find one that you like and you save your profile, it will save that LoRa, and so you don't have to like reload it to find it or stuff like that. Okay, so here is our image. That looks pretty realistic. So it messed up the text a little bit. I had some pretty good success with small amounts of text. So for this one, it messed the text up, but that's a really dirty room. I would not want to live there. He can't write. He's stuck in his room, but that's photorealistic right now. You might not have a use case for this, but maybe you do. You can look through these different LoRas, and maybe there's something that kind of catches your eye. Here's like another realism type of LoRa. This is like a face LoRa. This is, maybe you have a site about Warhammer or something like that. Maybe this would be good for Warhammer for your site. Another amateur photography one. A lot of these are user created. Now you might be able to create your own LoRa trained on you and upload it. I don't know. I don't know how to do that. But then you'd do the same thing. You would simply view the trigger words and then also copy the ID in there. And to get the trigger word in there, let's say the trigger word was messy and you want the prompt to use the word messy, because if it doesn't, it's not going to trigger the LoRa. What you could do is you could say the prompt should begin with the phrase : a photo of a messy room, period. And so the prompt that the AI creates will start this way, and it will use that trigger word. Or you could say something to the effect of use the word messy or use the word fill in the blank when you create the prompt. You want to make sure you use those trigger words if the Lora has one. You can also do searches too, like maybe you do food. You could search for food and see if something comes up. Delicious food, fantasy food world, fast food. All right, so all kinds of stuff. Now just be aware there is some not safe for work stuff on here, so be careful when you're going through this stuff, but this should really level up your ability to generate amazing content with images that don't look AI and look very realistic. As always, do a lot of tests. Do a lot of tests, otherwise you won't be happy with the result. And realize sometimes if you put in like the wrong Lora, let's just put in a bunch of nonsense in here and we'll save this. How to wash a dog. So I just put nonsense in for the Lora, and after it creates the prompt, I get an error from Runware, and we view the error, and it basically says invalid value for model parameter. The parameter is the Lora model. It didn't like, because I put in a bunch of nonsense, it didn't like the Lora. It's not compatible with this. So if you go over here and you say, oh, I like this Lora, but you try to use it with like Stable Diffusion 3 and it's not compatible with Stable Diffusion 3, you'll probably get that error. So if you get these errors, be aware that's likely what the problem is. That was a lot. Again, you don't have to use these features that I'm adding to ZimmWriter unless you need them. Start very basic, all right? Don't dive into all the different features inside of ZimmWriter because you're gonna get overwhelmed. You're gonna get stuck. If you do get stuck, join our Facebook group. There's 14,000 members in there, but I don't want you to get stuck. So use simple things. Don't use Loras yet, but if you become an advanced user and you know what you're doing, maybe you want to dabble around with some Loras and really amp up the quality of the images that you're generating. So if any questions, just drop them down below. I'll try to answer them. Join the Facebook group if you can. There's links to ZimmWriter. There's more links down below. Other than that, good luck with your content and your image generation, and I'll talk to you later.